Hello, we're Andy, the Maniacal Cinephile. And today, we're hiding from the Boogeyman.
But the Boogeyman is coming to get ya.
Be it early morning, late afternoon, or at midnight, oh, it's never too soon.
The Boogeyman is a PG-13 horror film directed by Rob Savage, known for Dashcam and Host, that Zoom horror movie made during the pandemic that was pretty fun. The screenplay was written by Scott Beck, Bryan Woods, and Mark Heyman, whose credits include films like Black Swan, A Quiet Place, and Haunt.
Really? What the hell happened?
The Boogeyman is one of these short stories found in the 1973 Night Shift collection by Stephen King. Surprisingly, this isn't the first adaptation. The story was made into a decent short film by Jeff Shiro in 1982. It has also been performed as a full-length theatrical play directed by television actor David Oakes. In 2010, Irish filmmaker Gerard Locke turned it into a 27-minute movie.
I just want to tell you and then get lost. I'm listening.
Well, at least it could be worse.
This new adaptation was canceled in 2019 when Disney bought Fox. However, it was revived in November 2021 and was going to be streamed on Hulu, but Disney decided on a theatrical release following positive test screenings.
So what? I've tested positive many times.
The movie tested so well, they rented out Stephen King's favorite cinema in Maine to get his input. King enjoyed the movie and sent an email saying they'd be stupid to release this on streaming and not in cinemas.
Can't we see across the Spider-Verse instead?
So let's shut the closet door and turn on the light as we analyze the Boogeyman. The opening of the film is quite effective. A closet door swings open, and we get a glimpse of something slithering under the bed. Few horror films have the balls to kill a kid in the first few minutes.
And not make it look hilarious!
What was that?
We then meet high school student Sadie Harper and her little sister Sawyer, who are still reeling from the recent death of their mother. She passed away in a car accident a year ago. So here I am, once again talking about grief and saying goodbye. That's right, like the Babadook, it's another grief monster. You see, it's a movie about trauma.
I liked that it was a movie about trauma. Family trauma, generational trauma, family trauma.
You know, generational trauma.
Generational trauma. Generational trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma.
Trauma.
Trauma. Trauma. Trauma.
What the heck is trauma?
Devastated by his own pain, their father Will, a therapist, has a hard time talking to his kids about their dead mom.
They don't have the money for his fee.
The Boogeyman invades their home when a desperate patient shows up unexpectedly asking for help. Even though he's only in the movie for one scene, David Dastmalchian is terrific. It goes to show there are no small roles.
But I eat buns all the time.
After telling Mr. Harper about the tragic death of his children and something about a shadow monster, he hangs himself in the dead mother's art closet.
Maybe the Boogeyman killed David Carradine and took off his pants.
The short story is essentially this therapy session. It's about Lester Billings' fear and paranoia. Is there a Boogeyman? Or did he kill his kids? In typical Stephen King fashion, the short story ends with a cheesy twist.
When did the Boogeyman get a bachelor's degree?
Instead of expanding Lester's story, the film instead turns the therapist and his family into the main characters. Sadly, they used the more interesting story as the inciting incident. Well, there isn't a whole lot to talk about plot-wise. At least Sophie Thatcher does a fine job carrying the film as Sadie. At night, Sadie still looks at text messages from her mom. Mother, I still look at letters you sent us in the hospital.
You know what? I meant every word.
When she wears her mom's dress to school, some mean girls spill moldy lunches all over it that were packed by her mom.
Did no one notice the stink coming from her locker?
Desperate, Sadie even watches a YouTube video on how to contact the dead, which is taken directly from Rob Savage's previous film, Host.
Sadie then flagged it for copyright.
Vivien Blair plays Sawyer, and she's a great little actress. I knew her from somewhere, but I couldn't remember.
She played little Leia on the Obi-Wan show.
Their father is played by Conan O'Brien's associate producer, Jordan Schlansky.
What are your responsibilities on this show?
I have various duties. My title is associate producer.
It's the greatest non-answer I've ever heard.
Other than being scared to be a dad, he doesn't have a whole lot to do. Even though it's Harper's job to talk about this sort of thing, he leaves his children in the dark in more ways than one.
Seriously, did he forget to pay the electric bill?
But what about the titular character? The shadow that comes for your kids when you're not paying attention.
Then what the hell is the tablet for?
One thing I liked about the Boogeyman itself is that it would mimic the voices of loved ones to trick you. If you hear a voice coming from your closet saying it's your daddy, run!
But what if they have candy?
It depends on what kind it is.
Thankfully, there's no lame twist that the Boogeyman is actually an alien or something. Although, it does look similar to the creatures in A Quiet Place. It's never really explained what it is or what it wants, and that's probably for the best. It's an ancient, weird-looking CG creature, a thing as old as when man first discovered fire.
I didn't know they had CG back then.
Since they went the CG route, I'm glad they didn't show too much of the monster and kept it mostly hidden in the darkness. We only get a few glimpses of it towards the end. The clearest image of the Boogeyman is a children's drawing.
What is this supposed to be?
The best scene from the Boogeyman is the 10-minute therapy session, taken directly from the short story. I wish the film expanded on it instead of giving us a generic Boogeyman movie.
Not to be confused with the other Boogeyman movies.
Some are calling this the scariest movie of 2023. Apparently, some scenes were so intense that the audience screamed over important dialogue, so they had to edit in pauses. I saw this movie by myself on a Friday, that is until 3 people showed up 30 minutes late, and none of us jumped.
Until I ripped a loud fart in the theater.
Listen to me.
Okay, I'm listening.
Rob Savage's previous 2 projects were so fresh that it's baffling he took 2 steps backwards by making a tame horror film lacking personality about the earliest monster that scares us as a kid.
Mother?
Savage's previous work relied on modern technology, yet half the movie I was yelling at somebody to turn on a damn light. Nowadays, everyone has a flashlight in their pocket.
And if you're me, you always carry a flashlight and a pocket pussy.
In one scene, Sawyer is in the dark. Why? Playing her PS5 when the Boogeyman appears and she uses the muzzle flash from her TV to try and repel it.
Boogeyman is more of a PC gamer.
If you're going to make a bloodless PG-13 horror film, then you have to bring the suspense. However, the Boogeyman is soft and too reliant on tired jump scares. The Boogeyman lives in the shadows, so the movie is flooded with pools of darkness for it to hide. The sound design is also very quiet, but this is from the same team that wrote A Quiet Place. Besides for the performances from its two female leads, the rest of the movie is sadly unremarkable. So, would I recommend seeing this in theaters? Not really. It's probably best to avoid the Boogeyman. This has been Andy, the Maniacal Cinephile.
Thanks for liking and subscribing.
We'll see you next time.